Hello there, I'm Joey Hollywood, and today I'll be talking about the first two Camp Blood movies. That's Camp Blood and Camp Blood 2 from Sterling Entertainment. These movies feature killer clowns, tired horror cliches, and the picture quality that you can only get from a shot-on-shitio movie like this. Now, despite looking like it was shot on a potato, Camp Blood actually does some pretty fun things, and I can't help but enjoy it. Firstly, I want to talk about the cover of Camp Blood. I don't know why, but I really love this VHS art. I can picture myself as a kid going into a rental store, looking at this art and going, wow, that looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of the old Goosebumps covers. Sadly, the Region 1 DVD does not feature this artwork, and instead features the poster from the second movie. The Region 2 DVD has the original artwork, and I'd say that's region locked, but to be honest, I really don't know. The disc plays on whatever and whenever it wants to. The double feature Blu-ray that comes with Camp Blood 1 and 2 is probably the way to go, though. It's from the same line of Grindhouse double feature Blu-rays that released Blood Sisters and Bloody Tees, some movies I featured on this channel. The Blu-ray says 3D Blu-ray, and that's simply not true. Now, you can watch the movie in quote-unquote 3D if you have these wacky battery-powered glasses, but the movie really doesn't look any better or worse with these things on. The 3D effect is done by attaching a device to a consumer-grade video camera, and to be honest, I don't think it works. The only thing that it does that I've noticed is create this weird repeated image in the corner of the frame, but that's there even with or without the glasses.
With the new View 3D adapter, you can create your own 3D movies.
Before you ask, there's actually very little difference in picture quality between the VHS and Blu-ray, but I have to admit it's actually better than the DVD. Both the VHS and the Blu-ray, they're about the same picture quality. The DVD, however, looks worse. It looks like the kind of thing you'd find on YouTube, where the Blu-ray and the VHS at least has that warmth that you get from a VHS. But yeah, the picture quality's not great no matter where you watch it. One thing that cracks me up about the Blu-ray is the main menu. You see, the menu is laid over a 4:3 aspect ratio trailer for the film.
They ignored the screams that echoed through the woods that night. They learned too late. Never camp out at Camp Blood.
It's so lazy. They didn't even remove the audio with canned music. It's literally just the trailer with the menu options in front of it. Now, Camp Blood starts off the way most cliched horror movies do, with a couple walking in the woods. They're out bird watching, and by they, I mean she is. Because the boyfriend from Sorority House Massacre, yeah, that's actually the boyfriend from Sorority House Massacre, he only has one thing on his mind: booty. As with many of these horror movies, they begin to have sex in the woods. Man, they didn't even, lay down a towel. You're gonna get dirt in places dirt has no business being. Probably gonna have to pull acorns out of their butts when they're done. You know, this reminds me of something. Every time I see one of these movies, and I see an actress with their tits out, I always wonder how they feel about that. My first impulse is to think, oh, that poor girl. Did she think she was in a real movie and they just took advantage of her inexperience in the industry? Or was she totally cool with it? Was she proud that she did a topless nude scene in a horror movie? And the reason why I wonder this is because when I was in high school, some buddies of mine, we wanted to make a horror movie. And I remember telling a girl that, hey, we want to make this horror movie. I was wondering if she wanted to be in it. And she was down. She wanted to be in it. And one of the first things she said was, I want to show my tits. And I remember all the other guys were like, yeah, that's great, let's do that. But, you know, me being the voice of reason going, hey, we're still in high school. I think we can get in serious legal trouble if we do that. So it's probably for the best that that movie never was made because, for one, it probably would have been terrible. And two, we probably could have all wound up in jail because of it. But that's always stuck with me. She wanted to do that. And when I see movies like this, I'm wondering, like, are they like that girl that I knew in high school? Or they just look back at that with shame? I guess we'll never know.
Oh my god, that's him!
Who?
Agrarius anthropophagus!
After all that time, they haven't even got their pants off?
What are you doing?
You just stay here, and in a minute, I'll be back with the best fucking picture of a asparagus whatchamacallit you've ever seen.
This horn dog wanted to get it on so bad. And now he's the one that wants to chase this bird that he didn't care about 2 seconds ago. Honestly, it would have made a lot more sense for the girl to go after it. But if that were the case, the girl would not have been the last one to get killed by the clown. And we wouldn't have this shot of her running through the woods topless. Ooh. That font is, it's something else. I gotta admit, music by Ghost looks kind of cool. It's kind of got a ring to it. Kind of reminds me of those old Argento movies where it says music by Goblin. However, music by Goblin meant there was some people with some actual talent behind it. Music by Ghost probably means that was the site that they got the royalty-free music from. There is a band called Ghost, of course, but I very much doubt they had anything to do with this. And after that, we're introduced to our cast of disposables. I mean characters. That was a joke because they're disposable.
You idiot!
Trisha Young, the timid girl, that will most likely survive, the confident guy that might survive, the douchey guy that'll die, and the slutty girl that'll die.
A woman was reported missing.
You know, I'm pretty sure 2 people died in the woods, but I guess a woman dies in the woods makes for a better headline. It's like that old joke. Meteor's about to hit Earth. Scientists say women will be affected the most. The movie cuts to a couple good old boys in the woods telling bad puns. And hey, there's the girl from the beginning of the movie. I guess the headline was from another killing? Well, I guess it doesn't matter because they die anyways. That is adorable. Well, our main characters are on their way to Camp Blackwood.
Getting any reception up here. You know, I knew I should have bought a Motorola.
Well, that Motorola line certainly dates the movie. Not like anything else in this movie. That withstands the test of time. On the way to Camp Blackwood, they notice this guy walking funny. And so, of course, when you see someone walking like this, you just start talking to him. It's just what you do.
You fucking deaf or what? What the fuck you doing? See if he's all right. Oh my god!
Uh-huh. Yeah. So after he tricks them into thinking he's had a heart attack, and just start talking to him some more.
Crazy son of a bitch!
Damn kids, roaring through here in your brand new shiny cars, polluting the earth with your fast food trash and your loud music. Acting as if you own the goddamn place.
Yeah, how much you want to bet that this is the funniest guy in his circle of friends?
We're looking for Camp Blackwood.
Camp Blackwood? You mean Camp Blood?
He said it. Make a note that he says Camp Blackwood. It's not important here, but I'll reference it later when I cover the sequels.
You know, I don't know what you're talking about, but if you'll just point us in the direction of the camp, we'll be going.
You don't listen too good, do you, boy? You and your friends don't want to go to Camp Blood.
Oh, I get it. This is the standard old man in the slasher movie that warns the kids before they go off and die.
You're going to Camp Blood, ain't you?
God damn it, Ralph, get out of here. Go on, get. Leave people alone.
You'll never come back again.
They finally arrive to Camp Blood.
You don't listen too good, do you, boy? You and your friends don't want to go to Camp Blood.
Oh, thanks, movie. Thanks for reminding me of that scene that literally just happened.
Did you guys hear that? What?
Yeah, the Ghost royalty-free music just kicked in. It's here where they meet their guide, Harrison, rounding out our cast of characters.
I had to map out the area.
You know what?
Been here for...
I don't want to hear your excuses, okay? Frankly, if I'd have known it was going to be a woman, I'd have gone with somebody else.
Dude, weren't you just on the phone with her like 2 scenes ago?
Yeah, we talked on the phone.
Wouldn't you already know she was a woman before you got here?
All right. We're going to set up camp here.
Cool, babe. Check it out. A rope swing.
No, come on.
What? What's wrong with having a little fun?
You're
Take
nuts.
the bag.
Come on.
So cool. Oh, guys, this is awesome.
Once they get to the campsite, the movie starts to get interesting. Well, interesting for a Camp Blood movie. Over the campfire, they start telling ghost stories, and this is where Harrison tells the campers why Blackwood is known as Camp Blood.
About the clown.
What?
You heard the one about the clown, haven't you?
You mean that story that crazy old guy was telling us?
Story of how this place came to be called Camp Blood.
And when she does this, the movie uses the most inappropriate transitions I think a movie could use for this sort of thing. Apparently, the Camp Blood killer, according to Harrison, was a man who discovered his girlfriend was in bed with another guy and attacked them and dragged them into Blackwood to kill them. Now, this scene would have been a lot better if they didn't use those silly transitions, but I think what really ruins the scene is the awful audio mixing.
Hey, who wants a marshmallow?
Not me. They're fattening.
Jesus, Steve, don't you know any songs, huh?
I remember that one.
Did you hear that noise?
Yeah, what?
It's like an animal or something crying out in the night.
It was probably just Jay and Nicole.
The following morning, the campers discover what they believe to be Harrison's body smoldering in a fire. And this is where the clown makes his presence known. Trisha's boyfriend and the clown have a knife-on-machete fight in a waterfall in this really cool location. And I would love to know where this is shot because it looks so interesting. Now, this fight scene is the highlight of the movie for me because it looks like there was some actual thought put into it. Now, I wonder if this was something that the director storyboarded and, you know, really thought through, or if this was just done on the spot. Now, there are some mistakes during this scene. The big one being the camera goes a little too high to reveal that they're near a busy road, not deep in the woods where no one could help them. That, and, you know, it looks silly. The boyfriend, despite his efforts, is killed, and his death is quickly followed by the death of his 2 friends, leaving only Trish to be the final girl. The ending is very reminiscent of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What with the character that the protagonist meets at the beginning of the movie that seemingly has nothing to do with anything, but then later is revealed to be in on the killer's motives. That and of course the ending chase scene. The clown is revealed to be Harrison. Yeah, the man who caught his girlfriend cheating wasn't a man at all. Harrison was furious to find her lesbian lover in the arms of another man, and killed them out of rage just to develop a taste for killing, and has been killing unsuspecting campers under the guise of a guide. I think this twist is handled pretty well. I think it actually adds to the movie to have a female slasher. It's not very common in these kind of movies. And normally it's usually a male force, killing people off until there's the final girl, with very few exceptions, at least popular exceptions. However, this interesting ending is killed off by the "it was all a dream" BS. Yeah, Trisha wakes up in an asylum, and a doctor and a cop are played by the same actors as her friends, telling her that she's killed everyone and the clown never existed. I love that in her cell in the asylum there's no bed. It's just an office floor with a blanket. I'm sure that's real good on the patient's backs. This kind of thing, you can only get it from these shot-on-shitio movies. I kind of like it. It's cute. Let's move on to Camp Blood 2. I decided to cover the first two Camp Blood movies in one video because they kind of feel like two halves of the same story, or rather they just complement each other really well. There's a whole range of releases on this one as well, with VHS, mini DVD versions, and of course the double feature Blu-ray from 3D Ultimate Heaven. The cover is decent, but isn't as fun as the one from the first movie. It features a new mask worn by the killer clown, which makes it weird that some copies of the first Camp Blood feature the second movie's poster when it obviously represents the killer of the second movie. The trailer for Camp Blood 2 is pretty interesting because it features footage from the first movie and footage that's not in either movie.
A group of filmmakers returned to these woods to make a movie about the murders in a place called Camp Blood.
I love the way he says Camp Blood. I don't know why. It just cracks me up. The voiceover says a group of filmmakers go into the woods to make a movie about the events of the first film. And that's basically the plot of Camp Blood 2, but none of this happens. It's very weird. You see this girl walking through the woods, and behind her, there's this guy with a big video camera.
Oh my God, do that again. Beautiful. Love that. You are so sexy. Oh my God, you are killing me.
I know the voiceover says they're making a movie about the events of Camp Blood, but I really get the feeling that we're watching the Camp Blood XXX parody. Like I said, this scene isn't even in the movie. I'm guessing it was an alternate opening for Camp Blood 2 that they didn't want to waste. Maybe it was a pitch trailer? I don't know.
Camp Blood 2. This time, he's not clowning around.
And to be honest, I'm actually glad they didn't use this opening for Camp Blood 2 because the actual opening has some of my favorite line deliveries and exchanges I've ever seen put to film. Or in this case, video.
Lemon lime. It's my favorite.
I know.
Last year, a bunch of kids got killed around here.
Not at this camp.
No, it was right here. That's why they call this place Camp Blood.
Drink your juice.
I think the best part about this opening is that it adds absolutely nothing to the movie except for runtime, and it actually contradicts the killer's motives revealed later in the movie. Camp Blood 2 picks up a year after the events of the first movie. Trisha Young is still in the asylum. However, it's never addressed why the police officer and doctor were played by the same actors as her friends. So instead of the whole she might be the crazy one all along, it's I guess everybody's got a double. But the real question is, when will this asylum buy some beds and stop forcing their patients to sleep on the floor? Trisha is still struggling from the events of the first movie, and this trauma takes the form of a nightmare sequence that's probably the most visually interesting part of the whole movie. She is then told that she can be released to help be a consultant on a movie made on her experiences in Camp Blood. When they introduce Trisha in this movie, you get the vibe that she's not a very trusted patient. They got her in handcuffs, followed closely by security. So when they release her to the studio, you'd probably guess that they'd have her supervised by either a member of the asylum or the local police department, and you'd be wrong. They just leave her with these filmmakers completely free to walk around and do whatever she likes. It's not like she's a mental patient or the #1 prime suspect in a multiple homicide case. Let's talk about the whole movie within a movie part of Camp Blood 2. Firstly, the director is probably the best cast person in this thing. He looks like the kind of guy who'd make these movies. It's also funny when they introduce the director and his plans to make a movie based on Trisha's experiences. You get the vibe that they're supposed to be a big production. But then you realize they're making a shot-on-shitio movie themselves. It's probably worse quality than the one you're watching now. Which makes you wonder why the asylum or the police station would release the custody of this patient to this man. Or even give him the time of day. Most of the cast of this movie they're just cannon fodder for when the killing starts. Out of all the attempted comedy in Camp Blood 2, the only stuff that barely hits is the stoner guy, but he's killed off really quickly. One of the production assistants is probably the most insufferable characters in the whole movie. There's a part where he freaks out Trisha, who's recently released from the asylum, by drunkenly chasing her with a clown mask. You just want him to die first, but they keep him alive till almost the very end. And if you didn't hate him enough, just when you think he can't get any worse, he tries to rape Trisha. I'm not even joking. Now, Camp Blood 2, with all of its failings, still has some of the stronger elements from the first movie, mainly the motivation of the killer. You see, the Camp Blood clown killer in this movie is the sister of the killer of the original. She blames Trisha for the death of her sister and hates her for blaming the murders on her sister. So much so that she kills the competition for the role in the quote-unquote movie just so she can get close to Trish. This gives her a taste for killing and leads her to massacre the entire cast and crew of the movie within a movie, which consisted of like 6 people. Now, her motivations are nothing groundbreaking or even done as well as the first movie, but I think it's done decently well. It's done well enough for it to stand out to me, at least. Especially with a no-budget movie like this. The ending is probably the best part of the movie, where Teresa is in the center of a circle of dead bodies about to be the campfire, which is a nice visual reference to an awesome horror movie called Happy Birthday to Me. A fight breaks loose between them, setting a tent ablaze that she's obviously not in. And because this is a slasher movie, it's not over. Oh no! We got sequel bait. Now, there's not many reviews out there for this movie, but I did find one on Digital Retribution that caught my eye. They claim, among other things, that the movie is pretentious. Now, let's look up the word pretentious, shall we? Attempting to impress by affecting a greater importance, talent, culture, etc., than is actually possessed. You know, I don't think this criticism is a reflection of the movie at all. I more or less agree with a lot of the stuff he says in his review up till we get to the pretentious line. It strikes me as, ooh, this is something critics say. I get the vibe that the author of this article is a little pretentious himself.
No, no!
I really like the first two Camp Blood movies. I know they're bad, the acting is terrible, the cinematography is almost non-existent, and the 3D attachment they use on the consumer-grade camcorder makes it look worse than most shot-on-shitio movies of the time. But they're a lot tighter than most movies of this kind in time. There's a lot of fun ideas in here, and I get the vibe if the director had a little bit more time and money, they could have really done something with this. Scenes like the machete battle at the waterfall seem really thought out, and from what I understand about these David Sterling productions, they're extremely rushed and made with little to no money. And with that knowledge, it makes moments like the waterfall scene seem a bit more interesting. Plus the visual references to other horror movies like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Happy Birthday to Me, they're not obnoxious. They fit into the story pretty well. I would actually like to see this done again with a little bit more time and money involved. Now, despite all that praise, it's a shot-on-shitio movie through and through. And it comes with all the hilarity that you get with those kind of things. It's a bad movie, and I would recommend it as a it's so bad it's good movie. However, I'm not sure if that recommendation holds much water because I did recommend it to a friend, and he returned it the next day and said he couldn't sit through 5 minutes of it. So, take my recommendation with a grain of salt. But hey, there are a lot of Camp Blood sequels. I mean a lot. So perhaps I'm not alone here, because someone has to be buying these things for them to keep on making them, right? Right? So later on down the line, I plan on covering some of these sequels, starting with Camp Blood 3 and Camp Blood 3. Neither of which are actually called Camp Blood 3. I'll explain that nonsense in a later video. Or at least try to. Well, thank you for watching my review of the first two Camp Blood movies. It really means a lot. I will see you next time. Thank you for watching. Remember, please be kind and rewind.